We're live from our Kokomlemle studios here on digital address GA0992539. Our lead stories this hour. More unannounced power outages expected in Accra and Winneba until the end of July as GRIDCO attributes the recent power outages you've been experiencing at home to some maintenance and construction works on its substations.
These outages are going to affect only Accra, I repeat, only Accra and Winneba.
Well, if you are in the Ashanti region, expect the power outages you are experiencing now to last till December. But what form exactly will this take? We hear from officials in the region and get some reactions from analysts and consumers like you.
As Christ is risen, Ghana will.
As Easter approaches, President Akufo-Addo speaks in support of plans by security agencies to strictly enforce the ban on churches, conventions, picnics, parties, and all potential super spreader gatherings, especially at the country's beaches.
Just as Christ is risen, Ghana will also rise.
More as the Accra Metropolitan Assembly also engages market leaders in an operation called Let's Make Accra Work Project ahead of the Easter holidays. Also coming up, fixed-bone traffic situation, a desperate plea by residents in the Kong area as they say their lives are being disrupted on a daily basis. We'll talk to the authorities in the area and residents pushing for solutions to the age-old problem. And the pulse is brought to you by Global Communities, Dignilu, Affordable, Safe Sanitation, DSTV 421, GoTV 144. That's where you find us on the DSTV channels. We're streaming live on YouTube and on our other social media handles, especially on Facebook. We want to hear from you. How do you intend to deal with the power outages that we're told to expect? My name is Gifty Ando-Apia. This is The Pulse. Please be my guest. Welcome to the show once again. Residents in Accra and Winneba will have to brace themselves for more power outages as GRIDCO announces that due to current ongoing works on its infrastructure in some parts of the country, the intermittent power outages currently being experienced will last until at least the end of July. According to Director of System Operations at GRIDCO, Mark Ewaba, after these outlined construction works on the Pokwase and Kaswa substations, the recent intermittent power outages would cease. He explains that due to the current construction, some of the contractors' request for power outages leading to some of the unscheduled power outages that you were having at home. Listen.
Currently, we are constructing the Pokwase substation, the Kaswa substation. These two substations are being funded under the Millennium Challenge Compact Tube projects. So MIDA is managing that funding for us. So you have Pokwase and Kaswa. And then we have projects that are being funded by AFD, Agence Française de Développement. And they are financing major transmission line projects from Tema to Accra and to Malam. We believe that by June, July, when all these projects are being completed, Ghanaians will now enjoy reliable power. But in order for them to be completed, the contractors on these projects have requested for outages. Because as they build, they have to connect it to the current system. So it is just like maybe you've invited an electrician to your house to come and fix some problem, and he comes and says, "Sir, madam, I have to switch off the mains for safe working space. Otherwise, somebody could die." And then madam could say that I'm preparing jollof, so I'm going to blend some tomatoes, so give me 30 minutes. It is the same thing in the larger grid. The contractors have asked for outages between now and July in order to complete the projects. We are talking of 330,000 volts In our house, we have only 240 volts, and that can even kill. So they will be coming to us to request these outages. And when this happens, we grant them this outage. It means that some of us will have to go off. We are now working with ECG on the quantum of these outages and how long it will take. And we are also discussing with the contractor to, as much as possible, minimize the duration so that we will have the minimum impact of outages on customers.
Well, minimize the duration, he says. Mr. Magba there also explains that the systems of GRIDCO in Accra are overloaded.
During the evenings, peak hours, when the voltages are so low, sometimes we've resorted to taking off some feeders, particularly in Kumasi, in order to prop up the voltages. So you will have Kumasi continue to experience this outage situation. So we've noted that inherent problem, and there was a partial solution to it, whereby we moved one transformer from Accra to Kumasi. I'm saying partial because that is not the entire solution. There are also bottlenecks within the network in Greater Accra region, where our substations get overloaded. So once in a while, you see overloads and then interruptions. Let me also add that these interruptions are not only due to problems within the transmission network. When you are in your homes, as a customer, you are connected to the distribution network. ECG is bringing power to you. ECG is connected to the transmission network because power is coming through GRIDCO. And GRIDCO is bringing all the power from the generating companies. So between you in your homes or in your factories and the generating companies, you are actually physically linked. Any break in this link can result in a power outage.
Mark Ewaba from the GRIDCO there, he outlines efforts that are being put in place to solve the frequent power outages. Mark Ewaba also says that planned power cuts will only affect Accra, and he was emphatic, Accra and Winneba.
These outages are going to affect only Accra, I repeat, only Accra and Winneba. It is not nationwide. Pokuase, the 330 came from Abuaze. We are diverting it to Pokuase. And in order for you to divert it, you have to disconnect the 330 kV network. Otherwise, somebody will burn to death. So that is why it's going to happen. So in Kaswa, we are going to connect the existing lines from Cape Coast and Winneba, connect it to the Kaswa substation, and continue to Accra. In order to do that, you have to take those lines off, and it will affect supply. So that is why we'll be coming to Accraians and Winnebans and say that these are the outages that are going to happen. It will affect you for a duration. And because by the time we will come out, we will know exactly the amounts and the duration, we would want to inform those who will be affected how it will be done so that they can plan their lives.
And that's why the GRIDCO is saying that it will not publish a timetable for these scheduled updates until it becomes very necessary. Here is the Chief Executive Officer of GRIDCO, Jonathan Amakoba.
I believe that when my Director of System Operations was speaking, and I also added my words to it, that when the time comes, we would inform Ghanaians. Currently, what we are doing, we have to be sure, because we cannot go and take off power and do nothing. We have to be sure of the time and the extent. So we are liaising with the contractors, not only the contractors. ECG is also involved. NIDA, who is the project funding agency, is also involved. We are dealing with all these people to come up with a comprehensive timetable. And this timetable, as we said, is only for Accra and Winneba. It is not a nationwide thing. It is only for Accra and Winneba. Let's get that right, so that we don't go and say that there's a national timetable for load shedding or doom or whatever it is. That is not the case. This is the timetable which they are asking for outages in order to complete the works for the system to be resilient, so that we wouldn't have the intermittent outages that we are having.
That's the head of GridCo there, speaking about the fact that there won't be a scheduled doomsday plan, if that's what you may be expecting. But we want to hear from you. Go on our social media handles, especially Facebook, and drop to us a message. What do you intend to do? How do you intend to deal with your power problems at home and at work in the midst of all of these? We'll be talking to Kwadwo Poku, who is an energy analyst. But I want to take you to the Ashanti region, because over there, the situation we're told will extend from the July that we're told will happen here in Accra till December. Okay, Erastus Asaridonko is joining us from Kumasi right now via Zoom. Hello, Erastus. Erastus.
Hello, Giti.
Yes, Erastus, take us through what officials in the Ashanti region are saying. We know what to expect here in Accra and in Winneba. What is the situation in the Ashanti region?
In fact, today's press conference was addressed by the Chief Executive of the ECG, that's Mr. Kwame Ajimambudu. He came to Kumasi to address that press conference. It was just to tell us that the problem we are experiencing in Kumasi is not as a result of he was speaking with respect to 161 kV line electricity. And he says that those lines
Erastus, I lost you briefly.
And so they need.
I lost you briefly, and there was an interruption on what you were saying, so we didn't understand it. Okay, Erastus,
so
can you hear me?
What he's assigned in. Yeah, Gifty.
I lost you briefly, and so we can't make sense of that part.
Well, so what I was saying is that the press conference was addressed by the.
We're having a hard time getting Erastus there. But let me engage Kwadwo Poku, who is an energy analyst. Let's get his perspective on this. Mr. Poku, thank you very much for your patience. First of all, I believe that you heard GridCo and the explanations they are giving. Let me take your initial thoughts of what you heard from GridCo.
Said that some of these challenges have been technical, and it is not the usual doomsday that Ghanaians are aware of. And I think what GridCo came to say is just a reiteration of what some of us have been saying. I think it's a bit unfortunate that in the past, most media platforms do not get a direct communication with the PROs of some of these government institutions. And for a very long time, when one person from GridCo, Mr. Ebenezer Mankwa, tried to engage a media platform, his words were taken out of context, and that was what necessitated this press conference today. The gentleman, in his communication, never mentioned that there was going to be a nationwide doomsday schedule. But everybody jumped on that thing and made it look like there was going to be a doomsday schedule, and that is what brought up these news. It is technical. It is something that we are aware that the technical people are working on it. And it's a good thing that now you guys have heard it for yourself.
So it's a good thing, but people have said that this is not if this is about maintenance. It is not the first time that the National Grid Company is organizing maintenance, but what perhaps should have been done was to have a plan. So even if this is not a doomsday, so you don't need a schedule for it, there has to be a schedule for the inconvenience that will be created to homes and offices that rely on power.
Well, but this is not maintenance. You know, if you want to understand what is going on, it's not maintenance.
Okay, break it down for us, please.
This is, look, in the beginning of the year, we've seen there are some of their machines, some parts of their lines tripping. These machines over a certain time need to be upgraded. These machines at a certain time need to be changed. From that press conference that you listened to, it tells you that the first time in February this year, we went past 3,000 megawatts as a country. 10 years ago or 9 years ago, when we started Dumso in 2012, when we didn't have enough installed capacity, generation was around 1,200. Now, 9 years down the line, we have gone past 3,000. What it means is that the lines and the machines that were transporting 1,200 megawatts is now transporting 3,000 megawatts. So even if you are not supposed to now upgrade it, the old ones need to be changed so that you don't have the frequent tripping that has become the bane and causing the problem. So it is not about maintenance. Maintenance, they have their scheduled maintenance, which they do. This exercise and the problem facing the country is about upgrading our infrastructure and building new ones that will now resolve the problems that we have. So I honestly don't think it's fair if we try to put it down as when they are doing maintenance. This is a very peculiar situation which is not about maintenance.
I see. So it's a more like a necessary evil. Are you then saying that there isn't a way that the managers of the National Grid Company could have reduced the inconvenience that people are going to experience between now and July and December for the Ashanti region?
Well, the Ashanti region problem, that Kumasi and the environs, the problem they are facing now is not as a result of the project. That project have not started yet. What ECG and Gridco are doing is that, okay, we are going to now have to shed load, like as the man said, for projects to go on. We are going to shed maybe 100 megawatts or 150 megawatts. How many communities can we share the 150 megawatts with? Is it fair to let's say Atonsu or one area in Kumasi, maybe Swami or maybe Dansuman or Winneba alone take all the load shedding that needs to be done? So that is when they would decide that let's not put all the outages in one area. Let's spread it across so that some people will get some and would only get it for a short number of time. So the disruption felt by an individual will not be as much as if you are only burdening only one community with all the lights off. That is what the schedule is for. The schedule is not because we don't have the generation capacity. They could just say that, look, one area in Winneba or one area in Pukiasi is going to go off for 1 week. Then that one, they are the only people that are going off. But this is a situation where they want to spread so that maybe one community goes off for 4 hours and the other community will go on for maybe another 4 hours. But that is only doing when the contractors request that. What is going on in Kumasi now is not contractors requesting or a project that is going on. It is as a result of machines not being able to carry the existing load, meaning that it keeps tripping. And when it trips, to stabilize the Gridco system, they have to take some parts of the country off. And unfortunately, Kumasi happens to be one of the areas that trips. And when they need to stabilize, they have to take lights off from Kumasi.
If I understand what you're saying properly, then it means that Kumasi should be able to provide for the people a schedule, a load shedding schedule.
Well, as it's explained, the work going on now does not include load shedding schedule for Kumasi. Kumasi is only going off because the lines and the system that powers Kumasi keeps tripping. So there is no need to provide a schedule for Kumasi because you don't know when the machine is going to trip. So it's unfortunate that it just happens in one central area. But as the man rightfully also explained, most of our load is being pumped from the south to the north. So you now have to go through the central part of the country, which is where Ashanti region is, and the load congestion in that area is what is causing some of these machines to trip. So it is a technical thing, but we just hope that everybody will be patient. There isn't going to be a nationwide load shedding, as it has been clarified. And some of us, even the CSOs, are now asking that the managers of Gridco and ECG come next week Thursday to engage the CSOs and you, the media, to give further explanation, because today what they did for me was a bit more of a summary. The CSOs also, who are very technical, wants to now engage and drill down on some of these. So when you call me, I will have much better particulars and further information to give you. So we are engaging them next week, Thursday, to understand further what is being done and what needs to be done more. So I'm sure your station will be invited to cover that program. But next week, Thursday, the CSOs are also meeting the GRIDCO and then the ECG management.
Okay. We'll be taking some reactions from people in Kumasi especially. I mean, they are going to have to deal with it for as long as between now till December. But what advice would you have for people who rely so much on power? I mean, all of us do on a daily basis, but people, you know, businesses who rely so much on power, any advice, even for homes, what can we do?
Yeah, where did you get the from now to December from?
That's what Kumasi
Nobody has said that life in Kumasi is going to go up between now and December.
That's what Ashanti region says.
That's what
they had their own press conference today, yes.
Yes, no, but nobody said that the problem in Kumasi is going to go on to December. I don't think Mr. Ajimambudu in Kumasi said that.
That's what they're saying, Mr.
I beg to differ. I don't think that was said. They are giving us till the middle of the year to resolve most of these problems. I don't think anybody will say that between now and December.
Hang on for me, Mr. Kojo. Let me bring in my colleague from the Ashanti region. Let's just clarify this once and for all. Erastus, help us clarify this. Did authorities, the power or energy authorities in Ashanti region say that for the region, the power outages, the expected power outages would be extended between now till December?
That is what Mr. Kwame Ajimambudu, Chief Executive ECG, said to the media today at the press conference. He said, by close of December this year, that is when they are sure the outages will stop, because that's the time that all the challenges that they are facing with the systemic problems will be fixed. And so he has given up to the end of this year for the outages to stop. And his words, it was at the press conference, it was recorded. So yes, emphatically, that's what he said.
Erastus, thank you. Hang on for me still. I'll come back to you. Mr. Kojopoku, that's my colleague, Erastus Asaridonko, who covered that particular press conference.
Well, currently, that information given by the ECG managing director, if ECG has maintenance and schedule work in Kumasi in the environs till December, I have no idea. But for the information I am reliably informed with, the work that GRIDCO is doing, most of these challenges will be done by July. So I honestly don't know where their December schedule is coming from. Maybe ECG have work that they are going to undertake throughout the year, and maybe that would also cause some of these disruptions to happen. But again,
as you said, let's give it time.
Hold on, let me land. Again, that is why some of us are engaging them directly on next week Thursday to get to the bottom of some of these things. That we will now ask them the question. So now, when they have told you till December the outages will stop, nobody asks them what exactly are they doing that is taking them till December. We, the CSOs, will have the opportunity to ask them those questions next week Thursday.
Yeah, that's okay. We'll give it time and get the clarity, as much clarity as possible. But Mr. Kojopoku, back to the question, my final question before you go. What advice do you have for power consumers on what they can do within this time?
Well, unfortunately, because, like I said, it is not a scheduled work that you know. And if it's scheduled work, they have promised that they will give a maintenance, they will give a schedule. So if it's scheduled, they will give a timetable. If it's not scheduled and it's intermittent tripping and intermittent problems, then that one is difficult to give a maintenance for. To give us a timetable for. So we are just hoping that we will engage them further. I honestly wouldn't be able to tell anybody how to go about their life because there's going to be emergency tripping of electricity. I wouldn't even know how to start that advice.
That's
what I would want to be able to do is to interrogate further with the ECG boss, interrogate further with the GRIDCO bosses, and find out that, look, what is it that you're going to do between July and December that Kumasi should expect outages till December? And when we do get that clarity, we'll be able to come back to you and feed you the information.
Fair enough. Mr. Kojopoku, we appreciate your time. Thank you. Kojopoku is an energy analyst there. You've heard his thoughts on what's going to happen. But we want to hear from you on Facebook and on Twitter. Share with us, what plans do you have? Do you intend to buy a generator? Maybe. What do you want to do? Share that plan with us, and let's see if along the line we can figure something out. I go back to Erastus Asaridonko. Erastus, I lost you at the beginning, and you were giving us updates from the press conference earlier on today.
Exactly. So Mr. Kwame Agyemang-Budu has been speaking to the press. He attributes the cause of the problem to some systemic failures, and specifically he says that the transmission lines of power to Kumasi is currently on a 161 kV line, and they intend to upgrade that to 330 kV line, and so that will stabilize the power. Again, the other cause he talks about is the low levels of water in the Bui hydro power station. And he says that that is supposed to cushion Kumasi in case of this problem, but that one is also down. And so currently that is why we are experiencing these problems. He, however, says that they are trying to bring a Mary to Kumasi with a capacity of 200 megawatts, so that in case they have any challenges, that one will kick in and cushion Kumasi against any future power outages. They are also trying to, like I said, fix the transmission lines and hook Kumasi onto a new line that is more reliable, and that is expected to cushion us and so prevent these outages. But that is going to end in December. Those works being conducted by GridCo is going to end in December. And so they can say that by December this year, the power outages will stop.
We'll see how it goes. Erastus, you've been engaging some people. How is Kumasi taking this information?
In fact, in areas where they are directly affected, I can speak of Ayija Extension, Oforikrum, Asukwa and its environs, Swami, and Angomaso. They are very, very angry. In fact, those I spoke with were very angry when they heard that these intermittent power cuts are going to travel all the way to December. And they feel that ECG owes them a timetable, a scheduled timetable. But like I said, the managing director for ECG thinks that these outages cannot be determined, they cannot be predicted, and so they cannot provide any timetable, scheduled timetable for these intermittent power cuts. So people are angry on the streets, and they think that the government should come in, lower the timetable or the duration for which the outages are expected to last, because December is too far.
And let's hear from some of those that you've been speaking to.
Well, I think it's very bad to hear that, and very, very, very sad. We hearing that it's going to be sorted around by the end of next year or by the end of this year is really appalling. But I think that the ECG and maybe the president should have another meeting and discuss and make possible amendments, then sort things out. So because having this power shortage here and there is really, really, really disturbing. It's really disturbing. It's really disturbing. I'm facing some difficulties, but considering those having those cold stores and other things, their things are getting spoiled, and that one too is costing them very a lot when it comes to the economic sectors and those kind of things. Yeah. So I think they should have an amendment to it. That's what I think. Thank you.
Well, I doubt there's going to be any amendments to that plan. Erastus, this gentleman is talking about an amendment, as he puts it. That's not going to happen, is it? But you also put together, I mean, we've had reports also from the region, especially from Triasi, where they have their own power situation, but they're going to have to deal with that from between now till December.
Well, the Triasi situation is quite different, because they have the electricity poles arranged. They are yet to be connected to the grid, and so they have not tested electric power for a very long time, over 10 years. But these are areas where we have electricity already. And in my area, for example, it goes off around 7 p.m. every day. And then it comes on around 12 midnight. Sometimes it travels to the following day. And it's on a daily basis. And so the situation is that bad. And for people who are using it for commercial purposes, like the cold stores and other areas, this is a huge financial loss to them if this should travel all the way to December before we can get a solution.
Well, I guess we should expect a boom in generator sales then. Erastus, thank you very much. Erastus Asari-Donko, there, my colleague in the Ashanti region, joining us with the reactions we're getting from the Ashanti region on their own situation there. Let's bring you back that story of residents in Chayasi in the Chumangwa South District who are demanding that the area be linked to the national grid in order to help drive growth there. Their argument is that the lack of electricity has impeded their children's education and hindered economic development. Kofi Asari visited the community. Here is his report.
Dorothy Kia, a 14-year-old girl, is doing her homework in the dark. She and her siblings will revise their notes before going to bed with the aid of this torchlight. For Chayasi GHS Form 3 students, this situation has become routine as BCE approaches.
The torch here is just one, and all the children gather around me to study, but I am ahead of them. This makes me lose concentration when studying.
Since there is only one torchlight in the house, her mother, Amecha, will have to give up her night duties to care for her child.
It is this same torch I use for my chores. If I am not done, she cannot study too.
Dorothy and her mother are two examples of how people of this community are impacted by the lack of electricity. Performance in the basic education certificate examination at Chayasi GHS has been discouraging. In the absence of computers, this is how students are learning the ICT subject. Performance in the subject stands at 51.5% in the last BCE. These students preparing for the upcoming BCE are afraid.
In the exam, we could be asked to draw a mouse, which we have not seen before.
From the drawing, I see computer as just boxes. We need a real computer.
Opoku Bwine is the assistant head teacher.
When you give homework, you expect the student to go home and do it. Here's the case that they don't have the electricity in the house. So how do you expect the child to do the homework? You go and sleep over the book and bring it back to you. We teach the ICT in vain because we only do the theory aspect. So when the electricity is here, we'll be able to have the computers and learn so that we can also compete with those in the cities.
Interestingly, electricity poles have been erected for more than 10 years. 2 years ago, high-tension cable extensions were connected from Nebehi to other towns with a promise to connect them to the national grid before December 2020.
We were all expectant of electricity when the cables were mounted, but nothing has been done since. We have waited in vain. People were ecstatic when we were informed about the electricity. I even gathered my savings for Christmas to buy a television set, but the electricity never came.
4 other surrounding communities are also in a similar situation, but yet to be connected to the national grid. Unit Committee Chairman Kofi Tewia says the community continues to wait for connectivity.
We were heavily promised of electric connection, which made most of us wire our homes. After the elections, that was it.
The local assembly declined commenting on the plight of the community. Children, like Akia and her classmates, will continue to struggle to study without electricity until the grid is connected. Furthermore, these communities' night economies will continue to be affected. A report by Kofi Asare.
You're watching The Pulse with me, Gifty Ando-Apia. We're talking about the power situation. We're told to brace up for more power, unannounced power outages, by the way. And we're asking, how do you intend to deal with it? I'd love to hear from you. Let's take a quick break. When we return, we'll also tell you about Easter celebrations. President Akufo-Addo has been speaking in support of what the police and other security agencies have told us earlier they'll be doing. We'll bring you more. Please stay with us. You're welcome back to the show. Many thanks for staying with us. Well, President Akufo-Addo has been speaking in support of what the security agencies have planned to do ahead of Christmas to make sure that there are no super spreader activities as far as COVID-19 is concerned. We'll be hearing from President Akufo-Addo shortly. But before that, series of stories related to Easter celebrations. We start with market leaders here in the Greater Accra region who are pledging to support the Make Accra Work Project, which is to address the myriad of challenges that the region is facing. At the first media engagement organized by the Accra Metropolitan Assembly and the regional minister to update various market leaders of this plan, the regional minister, Henry Quartey, said the project will focus on sanitation, easing congestion and hawking on the street, especially ahead of the Easter. The ministry has also given the market leaders a 2-week notice to engage traders before the commencement of this operation.
It's all about consulting with all the stakeholders involved before we launch Let's Make Accra Works projects. So, as part of the processes before we launch the Let's Make Accra Work program, I have engaged with several groups or stakeholders, i.e. meeting with the members of parliament in the Greater Accra region, former regional ministers, and today we have just finished with a section of the Queen Mothers in the municipal, metropolitan, and municipal assemblies. The message is simple. As part of Let's Make Accra Work projects, we will be embarking on the following: sanitation, security, education, health. More importantly, will be the indiscipline on the roads and congestions in the municipal, the metropolitan and metropolitan areas. You would all agree with me that increasingly market women and petty traders are beginning to occupy the main streets within the Greater Accra region. I say so because it cuts across, and we are taking steps to decongest the streets to allow free flow of vehicles and traffic. So today we have engaged with the Queen Mothers. We have made a passionate appeal to them so they will join me and the government and the assemblies in carrying out this exercise. As I said in the press soiree, there is no intention at all to make this exercise like a Rambo style, or for that matter, bring hardship to our market women or traders. It is only an appeal to them so they move off the streets and they can carry on to do their businesses and trading in the designated marketplaces. However, if after several engagements they continue to make it difficult for us, then we will get the MMDAs to use or to, as it were, enforce the local bylaws.
The Greater Accra Regional Minister there, Mercy Nijani, speaks on behalf of the Greater Accra Market Women Association. She says the directive is welcoming and pledged to support the Assembly to make Accra work.
Because of the street market, nobody wants to come into the market to buy. And they have turned the markets into an wholesale. They come in the morning very early to collect their goods, send them outside, sell. When they finish in the evening, then they bring their goods back to come and put it in the market. Please, the market is for trading. It's not at wholesale. So we will support him. We are with him. We will make sure that whatever he is prepared to do will work. We'll try as much as possible, because without that, the markets will collapse. So we'll help him.
Is a 2-week notice enough for you to engage your people at the market to get them to adhere to whatever the mayor is coming with?
I think that 2 weeks notice is for announcement. So with the vans going around with the assembly members and the DCs, I think it will be okay. Already they know that trading outside the market is not allowed. So it's not a new thing. They know. Usually when it is coming to Xmas time, then they allow them to sit, because they will be shouting, if you sack us, we won't vote. If you sack it, we won't vote. Now they have finished voting. Please, they should go to the markets. What I'm really afraid of is those who sit in the center of the streets. Unfortunately, they take their bags to the cars. So if a car is coming with a problem, how can they see? Please, we shouldn't sit down and wait for something to happen before we get up to talk. The time is now.
What would you do to get the women to move? Some can be very stubborn.
Yes, as you heard the regional minister saying, he says when persuasion fails, force must be applied. But I know there are people, they will never allow persuasion to fail for force to be applied.
You'll be hearing from President Akufo-Addo soon also, but empty buses at New Plant Station Circle happened as Kwewu craze died down due to the COVID-19 restrictions. Many holiday makers, churches and event organizers have been forced to stay home following the cancellation of activities by the Kwewu Traditional Council. Station Master Samuel Bokwe for the Nkoko station at the New Plant Station explains the situation.
Going on. You can see the place, no one is coming. Some people have spent 4 days here. They said coronavirus, that's why. And so they are not going to the distance, the East time, so on. Nothing is going on.
So today, since morning, I think it's almost 10 a.m. Yeah, since dawn till now, how many buses have left the station?
Oh, like 4.
Just 4? Usually these people are individuals or they are groups or what?
Oh, no. They are individuals.
How do you feel about the situation? I mean, 2 years ago, the story was different.
About 3 years ago, it's nice than the rest. It's good, 3 years ago.
Can you explain what happened then?
Oh, okay. Kwawu and staff, they go. But now they are not going at all. No one is coming.
How has it affected you?
Oh, it affects our business. Our business is not going.
Now, the passengers say this year's Kwewu Easter is definitely missing the excitement factor.
We are going to visit our grandma, but we will not eat the Easter. We will not celebrate it.
Where is your grandmother?
She is at Kwewu. I felt sad.
Easter.
Now, I feel Easter, who is saying?
Boring, very, very boring. Me crampo me nimpo say Easter.
Na mem dey say COVID-19 nyama slow. But me normally no dey bia kwa ni dey. Me te me wo ho, but me nkobi.
COVID ya na be ha adwen. Ndi abe ha adwen pa. De papa say dey. Ye nyinyi ye nkobi na nso so nka ye kwa ni edi bi frem. Nti ye kodi Easter.
All right. Well, let's hear from President Akufo-Addo on what we ought to do this Easter to avoid, super spreader activities. He's directing the security agencies to strictly enforce the ban on church conventions, picnics, parties, and gatherings at the beach as the country prepares to observe another quiet Easter. The directive, according to the president, is to stop further spread of the virus. Ghana currently has 1,775 active cases, with 743 people dying. Addressing the nation ahead of the Easter celebrations, President Akufo-Addo said the spike in infections witnessed after Christmas informed government's decisions to enforce the restrictions. This year's Easter, however, comes at a time that the country is reeling under economic difficulties, partly blamed on the coronavirus pandemic. Government 2021 budget, which comes into effect today, also kicks in new taxes. Let's hear from President Akufo-Addo, who is assuring the interventions put in place will soon restore the country on the path of economic growth.
Fellow Ghanaians, I bring you warm greetings from Jubilee House, the seat of our nation's presidency. Easter is upon us once again, and with it comes a solemn yet very important reminder of the death and resurrection of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, which is the foundation of our very faith as Christians. Easter symbolizes God's plan of salvation for our redemption from sin and the grave, and it must rekindle in us the Christ-like virtues of faith, hope, love, and forgiveness. This is further amplified in the words of Holy Scripture in Isaiah chapter 53, verse 5, which reads, and I quote, "He was pierced for our transgressions. He was crushed for our iniquities. The punishment that brought us peace was upon him, and by his stripes we are healed. We all, like sheep, have gone astray. Each one has turned to his own way, and the Lord has laid on him the iniquity of us all." The season is thus a good opportunity to reflect on that sacrifice and the hope it brings us. Last year, due to the onset of the pandemic, we had a muted Easter celebration. And we all agree that the usual festivities associated with Easter had to be cancelled. We were faced with an unknown foe, and we therefore had to take the difficult but necessary decisions to protect our lives and livelihoods. 1 year on, COVID-19 is still with us, even though we continue to adhere to the mask wearing and enhanced hygiene protocols. We began a vaccination campaign with some 600,000 persons vaccinated. We expect that in the course of the coming week, an additional 300,000 vaccines which we have purchased would have arrived in the country for deployment. Our target is to vaccinate 20 million persons by the end of the year. In other words, the whole adult population of Ghana. Whilst the vaccination campaign is going on, the number of active cases, which stood at over 7,000 a few weeks ago, is on a steady decline, currently at some 1,746. Clearly, my fellow Ghanaians, we're by no means out of the woods, and so we'll have to endure this year another quiet Easter, devoid of public gatherings and the merrymaking that characterize the season. There will therefore be no Easter conventions, Easter picnics, parties, or gatherings at the beaches. Church services must be held for a maximum of 2 hours. And the requisite social distancing rules must be strictly obeyed. Nightclubs, cinemas and pubs continue to be closed. Funerals, concerts, theatrical performances and parties are banned. Private burials with no more than 25 people can take place with the enforcement of the social distancing, hygiene, and mask-wearing protocols. Spectators are still banned from going to the stadia to watch football matches. The police service will ensure strict conformity to these restrictions, and anyone found to be flouting them will be dealt with in accordance with law. We also have the gains we made prior to last year's Christmas, where our active case count stood in the hundreds, were eroded because of our failure to continue to adhere to the protocols. Collectively, we have since worked hard to ensure a marked reduction in the number of active cases. And government, together with the security services, will make sure that this time these gains are protected. Let us be each other's keeper until COVID-19 is eradicated and poses no more threats to our lives and livelihoods. I know that as a result of the pandemic and its impact on the economy, things are not what we would like as far as the economy is concerned. We have, however, outlined a series of measures which I am confident will begin the revival and revitalization of the economy. The rapid growth of the economy which we witnessed before the pandemic will be back again. The future is bright. Whilst protecting ourselves from COVID-19, I want to make another appeal to you on a matter of considerable importance, not only to me, but to the entire populace. Year in, year out, accidents on our roads have been tragically a part of the celebration of Easter. This year, we must do everything possible to reduce this occurrence to the barest minimum. The Motor Traffic and Transport Department of the Police Service has reiterated its determination to enforce the road traffic laws and regulations. And it is my hope that this Easter will be celebrated without any road accidents. Let us help them in this endeavor by minimizing our speed, taking due precaution for other road users, driving without the influence of alcohol, and wearing our seatbelts. Like we have done with the COVID-19 safety protocols, let us also embrace a positive road safety culture that keeps our families and nation safe. Fellow Ghanaians, I know this is not how we wanted to celebrate Easter. However, just like Christ rose again on the third day, I'm sure that Ghana and indeed the whole world will rise again. As we celebrate Christ's victory over sin, death, and the grave, let us observe all safety protocols and stay safe. On behalf of my beautiful wife, Rebecca, my children and family, and on behalf of government, I wish all Ghanaians a happy Easter, with the hope that the blood spilled on the cross will heal our land and cleanse us of our iniquities. Just as Christ is risen, Ghana will also rise. May God bless us all in our homeland, Ghana, and make her great and strong. And thank you for your attention, and happy Easter.
President Akufo-Addo's Easter address there, in which he's asking the police to enforce strictly the COVID-19 restrictions. Well, the Accra Regional Police Command this afternoon says it has been in a 4-hour operation, pounded 44 motorbikes and arrested 52 suspects in a dawn swoop within Accra as part of efforts to fight violent crimes ahead of the Easter holidays. The operation, which began with the East Legon district on the 31st of this month, arrested 31 motorbikes for various offences such as riding without license, roadworthy certificate, insurance and other infractions. DSP Efia Tenge speaks for the police.
As part of efforts to clamp down on criminal activities ahead of the Easter festivity, the Regional Police Command embarked on a special operation this dawn, targeting areas like the Kotobabi Wembley, the New Plant Station, Kwame Nkrumah Circle, and also Adabraka, where in all some 52 persons were arrested in the process. The police had on them some substances suspected to be Indian hemp. Again, we also had some phones suspected to be stolen phones, and we also looked at impounding some motorbikes that are usually used in committing street robberies. So we impounded 44 motorbikes in Accra here and also at the East Legon district. And all these motorbikes were either unregistered, others were on the streets without the proper documentation such as a roadworthy license, insurance and what have you. And so all these persons together with the motorbikes that have been impounded, the police is screening each one of them, and those that are found culpable would be made to face the full rigors of the law. During this Easter festivity, the command wants to ensure that street robberies are brought to the barest minimum. And so the command wants to ensure that street robberies are brought to the barest minimum. And so we will continue with this exercise.
DSP Efia Tenge speaks for the Accra Region Police. Well, yesterday, the police held a press conference at which it justifies plans to clamp down on churches that flout COVID-19 restrictions in the name of Easter celebrations, which go into full swing in a matter of days. The move, according to the police, has become necessary as a result of breach of the protocols. And you heard President Akufo-Addo's directive there. Here is a report put together by Matilda Gavi.
At a media engagement on security measures during Easter and beyond, national and regional police chiefs took turns to update journalists on ongoing measures to ensure safety during the festivities. The move, according to the police, has become necessary as it appears COVID-19 protocols have been laxed.
We are mandated by the Constitution to protect lives, to maintain law and order, and that is exactly what we are going to do this Easter occasion. And to do that, we're going to deploy a lot of personnel. All our office staff will be out there to provide security, including our patrol teams. And most of these people will be in mufti. They will be in plain clothes. So when you don't see uniform personnel, don't think that we don't have police officers around.
Accra Regional Director of Operations, ACP Kwisifuri, says the police are not against the church, but the celebrations must be in conformity with safety protocols.
And as a result, it needs the various police formations to come together and make sure that we enforce the executive orders of the Republic, put up by His Excellency the President. And one may ask, why are we so interested in this? We are not antichrist. We are not against the churches. But looking at the global pandemic, COVID-19, brings us on board as law enforcement officers.
The attention goes beyond churches as the police also announced they clamp down on beaches, nightclubs and betting centers. Plainclothes police officers will be deployed to the communities and amusement centers.
You know, we have a large and long track of beaches across the country in the southern end. And in Accra, we've identified beaches like Okurubiti Beach, Bojo, Dansoman, Glefe, Mensagini, Independence Square, the Rivera beaches, Nungwa, Teshi, and Sakumono beaches, stretching to our nearest region, Tama, up to Adan. And we vowed to make sure that we saturate the beaches with our personnel and forces.
Concerned about crowd. Our concern is about the gathering, the crowds that abuse the COVID protocol, social distancing and all. That is why we will be there. And then your last point was about land guards. We will not mention the area specifically because we are going all out across the country. Now, land guardism is not only a character of Accra and Tema, but we see that it is extending beyond Accra and Tema. And so across the country, if you know you want to engage in land guardism or you're already engaged in it, this is a warning to you to stop.
The police is urging the public to cooperate in ensuring the safety of all Ghanaians as it intends to make more arrests during the festivities. Almost 200 COVID-19 convictions have already taken place.
So how is the church responding to this? Chairman of the Christian Council and moderator of the Methodist Church, Reverend Dr. Paul Boafo, is advising Ghanaians not to let down their guard during the Easter celebration. Delivering his Easter message, Dr. Paul Boafo said the empty tomb of Christ should give people the hope and assurance that we will come out of this pandemic.
On behalf of the Methodist Church, Ghana, I wish all Ghanaians Easter's best blessings of peace and joy. We celebrate Easter 2021 not yet out of the COVID-19 pandemic, but we can pause as a people to give thanks to God and again to appreciate the government, our health workers for the enormous work that they have done in fighting this disease. Let us go celebrating Easter, not losing guard, but to make sure that we follow strictly the protocols laid down for us for safety. Wearing our mask, observing social distancing, and then using the sanitizers. I know Easter is a time of joy, and we might go out there with the hope of celebrating, but let us not forget that COVID is still with us. The joy of Easter comes as we celebrate the rising of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, from the death. It is the time when we have new hope for our world. As this world emerges from this pandemic that has brought losses, confusion, frustration, fear amongst us, the empty tomb brings us new hope. It brings us new beginnings, so we can start afresh as we look forward. In the joy of celebrating Easter, let us continue to nurture the peace that we have enjoyed as a people. Forge ahead as one people, as one community with a common destiny. My appeal to our honorable members of the 8th Parliament, that as we join in this celebration, we would always put our nation first and think about the development and the growth of Ghana. Easter is a time when we receive forgiveness from the Lord. Let us also celebrate it, forgiving all who have hurt us and all who have been on the other side. It is a time when we can say that we have new hope, new ideas for ourselves and for our communities. As we travel, my appeal to our drivers is to drive with all the carefulness and with a commitment and avoid the carnage on our roads. It is a time when families meet together. Enjoy. Let us in this moment avoid the violence that we have heard of as we meet and celebrate this year's Easter. It is a time when we hear of the peace of the Lord. And may this peace, which passes all understanding, be our portion. I wish all of you a happy Easter celebration.
Most Reverend Paul Boafo there with his message. I want to take you to a traffic situation at Pom barrier. If you live in that area, you know, well, the motorists there, which is the Pom barrier and the Aflao highway, are calling on authorities to immediately find a solution to the daily congestion there. Some passengers who use the stretch say they sometimes spend close to 2 hours to cover a distance that should ordinarily take them about 10 minutes. Maxwell Agbagba has this report. After the report, we'll be talking to people who have been championing this cause and also talk to a civil engineer on how we can fix this problem. Do stay with us.
It's just about 4 p.m. The rush hour has started. It's thick traffic situation here. Many of the people who are using this stretch have been in traffic for hours. And they are calling on authorities to fix the problem here. Let's see if this one will talk to us. Hi, mommy, what's your name?
My name is Rose Darling.
Okay, Rose Darling, how long have you been in traffic?
For almost an hour and a half. I think they should find a way of solving this because it's too much. We stay in traffic for sometimes 3 hours just from, you know, motorway to Pram Junction. 3 hours. It's not fair. Okay. So they should do something about it.
I've heard a lot of incredible stories, you know, about the traffic situation here and how traffic can build up for 3 hours. People can spend 3 hours in traffic for, you know, a distance that on a normal day should take them like, let's say, 5 minutes.
For the past 1 hour and 35 minutes.
Okay. What do you think authorities should do to fix the problem?
We need expansion. We need road expansion and the traffic at the junction. Thank you.
A lot of the people I've been speaking to here tell me that the traffic situation here has become terrible, especially because of the many residential homes and residential communities that have sprung up right after the Pom barrier. But usually during the day, during the afternoon also, they experience this kind of bumper-to-bumper traffic situation. They tell me because this is a busy industrial enclave, you have a lot of trucks plying these routes, and yeah, quite a number of intersections as well. Problem. So on this main stretch where I'm standing, there's an intersection that connects to Bone and its adjoining communities. If you head straight, you go into Dawenya, Pram, and then Aflau. And they tell me that that contributes to the traffic situation here. Well, okay, we just bumped into this. And these are some of the things you see in this bumper-to-bumper traffic when you have a lot of cars driving like really very close.
Master, yes, the traffic here is too much. Okay. The traffic here is too much, so we need a serious help from the authorities. Okay. The authorities in charge must come into our help. Other than that, we are suffering. We, the people that fly this road, we are always in trouble. See what happened.
What happened to your car?
Yes, I'm joining, and for him to understand things, he scratched my back, and he's trying to tell me I'm at fault.
Oh.
So I don't know if you people can.
Okay, wait, what happened?
Shoulder road. Me, I'm in the right traffic. The right traffic from the TT Brothers is 2. It's not 3 lines. Okay. And he's driving from the.
So you are saying that it is not your fault that you scratched this car?
I didn't even know where from.
You're saying that he was using an unapproved route. That's what you're saying.
So he's driving from the shoulder.
Okay. He's saying that you are using an unapproved route, so
I'm joining. I'm joining. Whether it can be blamed or not, I'm calling the police to come in, so they will show who to blame. What I know is I scratched my back.
His defense is that you are using an unapproved route, and the police will not even allow you to use an unapproved route.
That one is up to him when the authorities come.
Very serious. The chaos that is happening here on this stretch mirrors what the people who live at Bombaria and beyond experience daily. What's it?
Traffic no doors. Traffic no doors. Mumbai. No drug carriage my 2 mile. What is it? Traffic no doors. So
my name is Aute Ruben.
Okay. How long have you been in traffic?
Oh, about 2 hours now from Gulf Junction to this place.
Okay. Ordinarily, how many minutes should you use for that stretch?
Normally, we use 10 minutes from motor runabout to Community 25.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we need a traffic light here.
Okay.
Yeah, to regulate the other vehicles coming from Pom.
Yeah.
For them to stop. For us, going straight to Dowenya or Pram Pram can also penetrate through without stacking in the traffic. About 2 hours.
2 hours? You do this every day?
No, really. I work from home, so once in a while I get to town. But if I should be working regularly, that's there.
But how bad is the situation here?
It's gotten worse because we have more estates in the area clustered around. So it's gotten worse. You can spend about 2 to 3 hours in and out.
Wow.
So you are talking about 6 hours a day. I want them to have an exchange here, interchange.
How long have you been in traffic?
Almost 45 minutes.
45 minutes. Is this a situation every day?
It's even worse than this on other days. We need this place to be widened a bit so that we can get moving. Mind you, from here till Pram Pram Junction has now become a very thick residential area. Yeah. So the earlier they do something about it, the better.
Okay. And you think authorities have not done enough?
No, they have not done anything about it.
Okay. Well, so that view there represents what a lot of the people who live beyond this place think, who live beyond Ekpombari actually think about the situation. They feel that authorities have not done much to fix the problem here. Many of them say they spend productive hours in traffic, sometimes just to get to work, and then coming back from work as well. And this is what they have to endure every day. A woman I spoke to earlier said she spends about 2 hours in traffic just to get to this part of the road. And they tell me that usually when you cross from this stretch, getting closer to Dowenya, that section of the road is also a bit narrow. So all of this car, so you just heard that. The woman you just heard is actually saying that they should come and fix the road for them. They tell me that as they move ahead beyond the Dowenya stretch, the road gets narrow, and that is where their problems actually gets complicated. Let's speak to more of them. Let's find out from them. Hello, what's your name?
I is Joseph.
How long have you been in traffic?
2 hours now.
2 hours. You do this every day? Well, he says every day the traffic situation is like this.
Difficult. Assessor. Dual carriage to Chopoli. Camille free.
Okay. Well, he wants an expansion of the road from this place to Chopoli. He says that would ameliorate the situation. That would bring them some relief here. You can see this man cleaning his face. He's been in traffic for a long time. Sir, what's your name?
My name is John Jane.
Okay. How long have you been in traffic?
More than 1 hour now.
Wow. And you do this every day?
Every day.
Wow.
Imagine, every day.
Wow. What do you think is the problem?
The problem is the joint here, the T-junction. To B5 and this thing. We need overhead and expansion of the road.
Okay, thank you. How long have you been in traffic?
Oh, almost an hour from the motor runabout. It's terrible.
Okay. It's terrible, huh?
So bad. I think that a simple traffic light at this junction will solve the problem, but it's never happened. I've lived here for about Okay. 4 years, we don't have a traffic light. It's so bad.
Do you think authorities have not done enough to fix the problem?
No. When it rains, it's bad. Every day the traffic is bad. We don't know when it's going to end.
The situation here is very, very, very tedious. About 3 days ago, from morning to evening, from morning to up to now, the traffic is very bad. They have to do something about it for us. Can you see the congestion here?
Yeah.
Yes, it's very, very bad. Not even this week alone. It's all the time. From morning to evening, even from dawn time up to the next day, traffic. Wow. So it seems now our road is very, very close. Our road is not good for us, or we need road network. So particular road, they should come and do something. Because now that what will happen, it will be worse. Now the road is not big enough. We are more than the road. Okay. You can see the cars in Ghana now. Our roads are very, very busy. See what is happening. Yeah, we have double lane, and then after double lane, you enter single lane. What is it? Okay. Have you seen? So if it's double lane, it's double lane. But after double lane, you are going to enter single lane. There will be a problem. There will be a traffic. Okay. Thank you.
Many.
Let's get on Zoom and speak to a member of the hashtag Fix Bone Barrier Now group, Benny Fifi Eshen. Benny, thank you for your time. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, dear. How are you?
I'm blessed. So, first of all, people are saying 6 hours. They spend 6 hours in traffic. I mean, that's almost the number of hours you have to spend in a day at work. How long or how old is this problem?
Well, I've been in that area for 14 years, I must say, and I moved from a traffic-prone area on the Springtest Road, working in Tema, and somehow when I got to Community 25, that was like 14 years ago, it could take you on average 10 minutes to move from the motorway roundabout to your home, where I live at what we call Tanka Yard, just after the Pum Barrier. However, 7 years ago, we realized that this has shifted drastically. I mean, it was coming. It kept coming. We knew there were increased settlements right from the free zones area all the way through to Pram Pram and Miocho. And whereas the people have doubled, if not tripled or quadrupled, the road network is basically the same. And so something that should have taken you, say, 10 minutes from the motor roundabout to Community 25 will now take you approximately 2.5 hours or 3 hours. If you're going towards Pram Pram and beyond, it's even a bit more stressful. This is unbearable for most of us who use this stretch.
I mean, I've heard people say that this problem is actually unsolvable, but there is no problem that's unsolvable. Let's try and explore what some of you who have been pushing for the problem to be solved think will deal with it. But first of all, how long have you been pushing for the situation to be fixed? I mean, this campaign, the hashtag Fix Bone Barrier Now, how long has it been?
I must give credit to my good friend Anil Sabute. 2-3 years ago, he also, bearing the same brand, could not deal with it and eventually called a few friends of his and put us together and said, what can we do to solve this problem? Like you said, there's no problem that is not surmountable. So, and he said, let us at least make some noise. Listen, when you're dealing with people who are, in quote, for, it's difficult to get us to do the usual booga kind of a noise making. But we've gotten to that point where we want to take down our ties and suits and actually get to the streets and actually hold placards up. So 2 to 3 years ago, like I said, I need to put us together. We've been exploring some ideas.
Okay.
And we have quite a couple of engineers amongst us who have said a traffic light wouldn't have been bad. The reason why we said fix bone traffic now. However, we've come to appreciate that it goes beyond the traffic light, because the clock of the people and the number of cars that apply the same road, as I've indicated earlier, which has not grown, much in each other, has actually made it quite a bit of an indiscipline for the commercial drivers who would not toe the line but actually use the shoulders of the road. And I should say thieves are even beginning to take advantage of us when you're not locked up properly. People open people's cars and actually steal their phones and sometimes even get attacked. We almost lost, a friend of mine almost lost the brother-in-law's, the sister-in-law just about 3 days ago because the ambulance could not even go through this traffic. It's that terrible. And if I tell you the number of people and the caliber of people who live on the stretch, we have MPs, we have ministers. I dare say we have the Deputy Minister of Transport, Anthony Cabo, living in the same area. We have quite prominent people, and I think they've been going through the same thing. However, for us, we see them in the dispatch convoy and having the police escort them to wherever they're going. So maybe they may be bearing the brunt of this, but not as much as we are, because the stress is unbearable. It's terrible.
You indicated that your group has a number of engineers. Let me talk to an engineer, see if we can get some solutions, and then maybe you can put this together and present it to some of the authorities. Engineer Abdullahi Mahama is joining me via Zoom. Engineer Mahama, thank you very much for your time. This is a problem that's been going on for a while. As we talk to them, some of them are saying a traffic light will solve the problem, because then it will regulate how people move. Without the traffic light, everybody wants to move, and then there's a clutter. From your perspective, looking at this area, what is feasible and can be done in the shortest period of time?
Well, good afternoon to your viewers. Can you hear me?
I hear you, but if you could speak up a bit, that would be very helpful.
Well, I'm overwhelmed with the situation there, and I think before I even make any pronouncement on what is happening at Kumbaria, the hashtag would have to be extended to the Amasaman. Same problem you see happening or you witness happening at home, the same thing that we're witnessing at Amasaman. Now let me just go through this information that I can just present to the man listening, the resident who is listening to me. I tabled out a few things when I listened to you in the morning. One of the things that we need to look at is the development springing up like mushrooms within the area. The estates which are springing up in those areas, it is about time that government decides to sit down with them. In elsewhere, once they are entities like their institutions or their companies, they would have to have a specific arrangement with government. Some quota had to be paid from them to be added to the advancement of whatever is happening. But let's look at the critical situation there. I don't understand why we still don't have a signalized intersection at the black spot areas. I don't understand why. Number two, I realize that on the highway, the acceleration and deceleration lanes are not existent. In that case, when a trailer is moving from, say, COM25 coming towards the motor roundabout and has to make a U-turn, it turns and takes the whole two-carriageway, thereby bringing the vehicular movement to a halt. That cannot be on that highway. And so if we do not start to look at how we are going to do the arterial roads, number one, we are talking about an industrial hub. An industrial hub, the government ought to arrange and have an independent road that would deal with like a slip, a lay-by, or a bypass that would handle all the voluminous traffic, especially with all those railways, the trailers. Otherwise, this issue will not be solved by just a signalized intersection.
I see. Let me come to you again, Benny, as we wrap up. Is this a part of the solutions or the suggestions that you have put together? If not, what are the solutions your engineers are advising you on? And after you finish with that, let's look at the way forward, and then we can wrap up. Benny.
Well, as I indicated, it started, and as you can see the hashtag, it started from fixed bone traffic now. It was traffic lights. We actually had to quickly take the light off because we felt that once the light is fixed, it could regulate who is coming at what time at that particular intersection, because you have big companies there who are applying or transporting with big trucks. B5 Plus is there, Belacqua. We are bossed there with the tanks. And so we thought, okay, traffic lights. Then we moved on from there because our engineers are saying, no, traffic light doesn't solve these problems.
Why do they say traffic light won't solve the problem? Because the idea is that it will regulate the movement. Because without the regulation, it is a jungle. And I know how that feels.
So you see, you're right on that. But what we thought was to look at a more holistic approach, because putting the traffic light there deals with just that particular intersection. However, if you're coming all the way from TT Brothers when you've just crossed the motorway interchange and gone into TT Brothers through free zones, you see close to about 4 or 5 lanes So sometimes you get the MTTD, and as I'm watching your screen now, I can see those driving on the shoulders. So definitely, that actually causes havoc for those who don't want to be law-abiding and stay within their lanes, only to come to that traffic light and be regulated by the traffic light. So the traffic light effect will be more important, or if you will, more effective just at that intersection. But how about the fact that we expand the road a bit and we have some interchange that help us for the busy coming in and going out through the big one, which is Pong, which is the biggest of the issues to actually be dealt with. So expanding the roads is one thing to look at, because now we have only 2 lanes on each side. But if you can expand it and include 1 more lane, and I'm told there's a certain plan towards that, if that can be effected, I think somehow it will alleviate the stress levels for a bit.
Okay, well, Benny, I've run out of time, but I'd like to say a very big thanks to you. I think, though, by the way, and that's if my thoughts are, will help deal with it in any way. I think maybe the traffic light could have come in at this point to deal with that part. Because the extension of the road seems like a long-term solution. So maybe the short term would have been to get the traffic lights. But I mean, that's something for you and your team to chew on. We hope that we get a solution to this. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining in this conversation. Benny Fifi Eshen is a member of the Fixed Phone Traffic Now, campaigners. They're pushing for that problem to be solved. And Engineer Abdullah Mahama also joined us with his thoughts. Thank you, gentlemen. Well, before we go into sports, an attack this morning on tricycle operators in Tamale has left 3 people injured and 6 tricycles vandalized. One of the wounded was stabbed in the back. The other's teeth were removed, and the last one sustained cuts in the forehead. According to the Tamale Divisional Crime Officer, Mekomari Boache, 2 men parked their motorbikes in front of the tricycles at their station. He said an elderly man approached them and asked if they could move the motorbike because it was causing traffic. DSP Boache said the 2 men who were unhappy had a confrontation with the tricycle operators, and that degenerated into a fight. The police says the 2 went back to bring together a gang and numbering about 20, who then attacked the tricycle operators. He also says that Tufik has been arrested, and those who were wounded and their properties destroyed have laid their complaint with the police. Some of the wounded, Al-Hassan Ishmael and Malik Musa, have been sharing their story with us.
Bus stop side man, so that time magba, I don't can about the driver and magba because Banner can actually shama, but she have the popular Tilse, no so he no way the tabo tare. So got an vagu, the November access bank young man, Kalavna. So to come and turn out station now, Kobe Bank of Ghana side man, who's working the couple of Palama, Consoma, Somali Lankulana. Monsoma, Obaza the Bevany, Tanka to one can do anything, my command by Antonio Pima, I live in what time. So after that, Kabdilan Kuna, until they land, the Fiamma, Fiat Telegram, can dodge it, Ulamana, Planfia can dodge it, Uzanfia Access Bank, the Benma. This is Access Bank Street Marajan, Umpuna Tabago. Bulana Kazala, Beshai de Tessana, Nazano Tazandu, so Kabla Bunyan Street Man, Bupes and Yomi, Ubunati, Kawi Kurma, Bendifia, Mabin Yare.
Let's talk to Martina Bugwe and get a sense of what he's saying there. Martina, what is he saying?
He's saying that he was not at the station this morning, and so when he came back, he was told that an incident had happened. And so the colleague was narrating what happened. He said whilst the guy was narrating, suddenly they saw a group of people approaching with all manner of implements. And so they started running. He said he ran to a bank.
I'm losing you, Martina. Let's see if you can reposition and do this for me quickly. Martina. Okay. I've lost Martina, unfortunately, there, but she gives us an idea what the gentleman there is saying. Now, for many who have been apprehensive with the uncertainty surrounding the second jab of the AstraZeneca vaccine, perhaps you can heave a sigh of relief because research shows that delayed interval with the AstraZeneca vaccine gives better protection. And that's according to an immunologist at the West African Center for Cell Biology and Infectious Pathogens, Dr. Yawediako. He said that one can wait as far as 12 weeks for the second jab of the AstraZeneca vaccine than the 8 weeks which the Ghana Health Service is working with. This comes on the back of concerns about India's decision to restrain export of the AstraZeneca vaccine before a number of their residents are inoculated.
The data from the UK, because initially everybody was doing 21 days in between. Then data came out from the UK showing that if you delayed with the AstraZeneca vaccine, if you delayed the interval, you actually achieved better protection. Okay. So it goes up to 12 weeks. So even though the Ghana Health Service preferred interval was 8 weeks, the reason they did 8 weeks was they were worried people would not show up. If you push it too long, people will forget and not come for the vaccine. So we actually have some buffer. If we push it to 12 weeks, that's putting us, most people got vaccinated in March, so that's putting you somewhere end of May, early June. So if COVAX delivers when they are hoping to, which is sometime in May, we would still be okay. The issue is if COVAX suffers yet another delay, if India refuses to export more vaccines, then we have to look at other sources. Of course, there are other ways to get vaccines. We've heard of, Sputnik 5. The challenge there is we've started vaccinating some people with AstraZeneca. There is work currently going on to see if you can mix and match, because AstraZeneca and Sputnik are actually very similar types of vaccines. So those ones, you could conceivably think that you could probably get a second dose from Sputnik and still be fine. But currently that trial has not, that data is not there. So the current guidance is to stick with the same type of vaccine in your 2 doses.
Dr. Bediako there speaking to me and Benjamin Akakbo earlier today on the AM show. Let's revert to Martina, who has joined us again so we can understand the situation in Tamale. Martina, let's do this really quickly. You were telling me what the gentleman was saying.
Yes, he says that he was not at the station this morning, and when he returned, an incident had happened. So he asked one of his colleagues who was explaining what had happened. He says while he was explaining, he saw a group of men coming with all manner of implements, and so they had to run. He said he ran into a bank nearby to the security officer on duty. The security officer fired warning shots to try to stop the men, but they still went ahead to attack him, and in the process he was up.
What is the police doing about this situation? The officer you spoke to indicated that some people have been arrested. Give us an update if there is. Martina? All right, we'll bring you more of that. We'll bring you more of that story on JoyNews Prime when Israel Live takes over. But there's also more on myjoyonline.com. Let's break now. We'll bring you sports right after this. All right, let's hop on to myjoyonline.com, see the stories that are trending on there. Speaker's acceptance of a Black Lives resignation from Appointments Committee incorrect. That's Baka Vomawo. There's an opinion piece. You want to take your time and look at it. President Akufo-Addo there as well. His address of the nation ahead of Easter celebrations. And a Black Lives resignation, not a vote of no confidence in NDC leadership. Muntaka Mubarak telling my colleague Evans Mensah there. You also have conspiracy theories haven't affected vaccine rollout. That's according to Dr. Bediako from earlier today. And the Great Co situation, explaining the cause of the recent intermittent power outages and the fact that you're going to have to endure until end of July. Also, it was NDC's decision to approve, quote, lame duck Oforiatta as finance minister, according to Asiedun Ketia, and decline in Ghana's fishing sector worrying, according to U.S. government official. And I'm fully in charge of the minority in Parliament, Haruna Idrisu, to critics. Those are some of the stories you'll find on myjoyonline.com, being read as well very often. You want to click on it and share it with your friends and your colleagues. My name is Gifty Andopia. Happy Easter.